You don't have to have FEMA to be the arbiter of who does and does not get the funds.
So who would it come? Like, if it wasn't to come through FEMA, then it would come through what department?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Through the state instead of the federal government.
Okay. No. Oh, so you're saying not even have the federal
As I understand,
government involved
FEMA's federal, and then if they didn't have their help, it would just be through the state.
at all. Okay.
Yeah, and they say FEMA stands for things like fails every month.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like you can guarantee whatever they do, they're going to fail in. I think Trump is being smart here because he's not saying we're going to stop the federal funds to disaster zones. What he's pointing out is that FEMA, like the TSA or any of these government agencies, is probably like bloated with waste and corruption. You see that, right? Like FEMA takes sometimes days to a week or more to get on the field. You already have emergency crews from locals going out. Plus, once they get there, they sort of get in the way of locals actually helping. And so they end up causing more problems than good. And they were against Trump supporters.
That's true. And it's also a great point. They do take the time that they take, especially in the modern era. Like, it's not a surprise when a hurricane hits, right?
They're like, oh my gosh, who predicted
would have
this?
thunk?
I've been watching a live stream for 2 weeks about it. Where were you?
Whether it be a hurricane or the snow that just happened across the southeast, into Florida and places that don't normally get snow, you had warning. It's 2025 and there's a significant significant infrastructure to predict the weather and predict these kind of things. Sure, when it comes to something like an earthquake, if there were an earthquake in California, then okay, everyone gets surprised about an earthquake. But even forest fires, the fires that California is experiencing, going through, it's not a surprise that California is having fires. They have fires every year. So the idea that you have to take so long to get under the ground to actually have people start helping, I don't think that's actually the case. I think that you're right. It is federally, it's bloat from the federal government.
What was the purpose? I remember the story about federal government employees getting involved and saying that locals couldn't help. Was that something to do with liability? Like, I was surprised by that, but I didn't know any more about it.
I don't know anything about why. A lot of times the jurisdiction, there's arguments over who does and does not have jurisdiction, so I'm not sure. But you had also made another good point, Elijah. The fact that FEMA, like everything else in the federal government, has been politicized.
Yeah, they've been super politicized. I also think that it's not safe to say that they don't know there's gonna be an earthquake because I'm from LA and it's like we all know that there's going to be. Even an average family has to have an earthquake prepared emergency kit in their home. The state tells you to do it, your county tells you to do it. I mean, this is common stuff, right? I've been at least in a strong enough earthquake that it knocked my TV over and broke it. Born and raised in Whittier, we had the Whittier earthquake. It was really, really catastrophic, right there on the fault lines in the Whittier Hills. Shout out to the people in East LA over there. But that being said, I mean, not only that, but they discriminated against Americans. And to answer your question, I mean, okay, on one hand, I got to support FEMA because there's the most lesbians, I think, in the history of the department currently serving there right now. And shout out to those people who are into crafts and sometimes you use scissors, whether it's in the classroom or in the bedroom. I mean, good for you. But to the rest of you guys who are out there, I mean, I don't know. I mean, lesbians have not been known to do much more than maybe be involved in domestic violence. So I think one of the main things that I take away from this is that these agencies are about, woke policies. They're about replacing, qualified individuals. When I was there, I remember people couldn't get jobs in departments like this in LA because they were white men. And so these places are corrupt institutionally on who they hire. They're bloated in their budgets. They have slow response teams. They're also discriminatory in their handbooks towards people based on their politics. And you said, why don't they let people go? People do speculate on this, but what I've heard the best theory is that the government, FEMA, is in such a catastrophic position that they have to stop American citizens from helping because it'll make them look bad, and they have to be needed and wanted. So if Americans are faster at responding, getting supply chains set up faster, and are more reliable than FEMA, then what does that mean about FEMA? It should be dissolved. And they don't want that, and they're in a very dire position, so they were trying to stop that in North Carolina. So instead, they just stopped helping. It's like they just stopped.
I mean, the idea that the Federal Emergency Management would stop, right? They would say, look, we need to prevent people helping. We need to prevent the locals from helping because the help will make us look bad. Part of me says, no, that can't be true. There's no way that would happen. But then I also think about this is the federal government, and this is probably the least far-fetched and least crazy thing, that thing that's been discussed about FEMA and how they distribute aid.
Well, remember, the X-Files predicted a long time ago that FEMA was an absolutely evil agency. That had to do with alien abductions and coercion between the United States government and alien colonists. But same thing.
So if there were an alien race that visited the U.S., do you think that FEMA would be involved and they would be facilitating?
Well, if there was a crash, right, like they crash in Roswell, and they, you don't send any unit other than FEMA over there to get them. Absolutely.
At all?
Yeah.
No one else?
No, no one else.
Not even like the military?
Well, I'm sure that military contractors would be working with them, right?
With FEMA or
with FEMA.
With the aliens?
With FEMA.
Okay.
At this point, under Biden's administration, we were like 1 year away from having FEMA be literal aliens, like illegal aliens, right? And on top of that, I always thought it's weird, like FEMA can't get aid across LA because AIDS spreads quicker in Los Angeles than anywhere in the entire country. I mean, look at West Hollywood, right? So it's like,
I don't think that it's actually
as ineffective as any agency.
Yeah. Well, like, okay, but jokes aside, we do know LA is mismanaged. We know that the federal government's mismanaged. This isn't sort of is anyone surprised? And so what I think what's going to happen here is this is going to be a battle against people, again, believing the mainstream media, taking the establishment institutional position versus believing our eyes, right? Once again, it's like, did Elon Musk sig heil? Yes. No. Did he do it on purpose? No. Obviously, he was saying he's autistic and he was saying, I give out my heart or whatever. And he's autistic, so you're making fun of a disabled person. You guys who are accusing him of racism are ableist. But the most important part about that is it's like, look, we can look with our eyes. We know what the mainstream media is saying. We know their lies. We know their tactics. And so with someone like FEMA, we just saw them credibly fail and get exposed for anti-Trump corruption. If you're new to this, basically there was a memorandum sent out to teams in the recovery in Florida that literally told them directly to overlook homes with Trump signs. And that's on top of their handbook that said to not hit up white areas or affluent areas first, but help queer and black people first. This is in their handbook. Yeah. So when you have an agency like that and we have the evidence, the media is going to be like, Trump's trying to stop aid, when in reality, I think we can see, well, somebody's got to finally fix these government budgets and do something because these aren't really working, right? I mean, am I the only person who sees this?
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.